Australia's Tasmanian devils. They have the most infamous reputation of any of the country's marsupials. Pint-sized pugilists and dedicated meat-eaters, these spirited scrappers also have another side. They're committed parents, nurturing and patient. They're also heroic defenders of their pouch-reared young. Raising their babies in the grasslands and woods of Tasmania, an island state of Australia. It's just one corner of this colossal, ancient continent. Home to some of the planet's most unusual and fascinating animals. This is the secret life of the Tasmanian devil. Tasmania has over 26,000 square miles of glorious habitat. With a small human population, much of the island is still a beautiful and tranquil wilderness. But there is one Tasmanian animal who shatters the peace. One of the island's most argumentative species. The Tasmanian devil. It's evening in late March, breeding season for the mostly solitary devils, and this 2-year-old male is setting out from his den to look for females, or at least a little food. Although devils do move around in the daytime, dusk is when they become most active. Their eyesight is adapted to work best at night, when they look for live prey and scavenge for carrion. But today, he's not only scavenging, but on a quest for a mate. The devil breeding season is usually only a few weeks long. So the devils must ensure they make the most of it. This female is 2 years old, and it's her first breeding season. Devils usually become sexually mature at this age, although sometimes the females can be ready earlier. She has a special roll of fat stored on the top of her neck, especially for the breeding season, because, perhaps unsurprisingly in such a rowdy animal, devil mating has its fair share of combat. Just because a male's decided on his lady, it's not the end of the story. First, the males fight over a female. And like most devil altercations, it's no holds barred. Tasmanian devils are some of the feistiest creatures in the animal kingdom. They have a huge range of both vocal and non-vocal methods of communication. From varying their head positions and placatory yawns to the spine-chilling screeches of the full-blown fracas. The devil motto seems to be, if in doubt, fight it out. Disagreements can volcanically erupt into violence over a tiny scrap of food. Or just having the right of way. These animals have some of the strongest jaws in the world, and many a devil derriere is in a perpetual state of laceration. Both sexes are happy to get involved in a battle royale, but many of the fights are between males. Male devils spend the whole year determining who is the most dominant among them in an area. They do this by rigorously disputing everything they come across, for any reason. And it's at mating time that the benefits of being the top dog become apparent. Come breeding season, it's usually the dominant male that will win the battle. This makes him more attractive to the female, but it's still not a foregone conclusion that he'll get the girl. Once he's beaten off the competition, he still has to prove his worth to the female by wrestling with her. If she's not impressed, she'll reject him by biting at his face. Many of the facial injuries seen on males around this time of year are from females spurning the male's advances. If she accepts his proposition, though, she allows him to proceed with his rather rough courtship. Mating takes place in his den, and he drags her there by the roll of fat on her neck. Once he's secured his female, mating is almost continuous for up to 5 days at a time. Throughout this entire period, he keeps her in his den, guarding her from other males. When she needs to go out to eat and drink, he escorts her. Eventually, their association will end. The male will then mate with other females. The female devil can ovulate 3 times in as many weeks, and she too will go on to mate with other partners. This usually leads to the females giving birth to babies with different fathers for optimal genetic diversity. The pregnant female moves to her special maternity den. Adult devils usually move between several dens that they call home. Favourite den sites are within hollow logs, rock crevices, or even abandoned wombat burrows. Wombats are also marsupials, although they're vegetarian. They often choose to make burrows at the base of trees. Being quite a lot bigger than devils, their old homes make for spacious subterranean maternity dens. Whatever kind of den the mother-to-be chooses, its location is carefully selected to provide protection from predators. The female has a typically short marsupial pregnancy of around 18 days. Babies are usually born in mid-April, fall in Australia. She gives birth to 20 or more tiny babies, each no bigger than a split pea, who make their way to their mother's backwards-facing pouch. The devil babies clamp onto a teat, which swells up inside their mouths, firmly attaching them to mum. The mother only has 4 teats in her pouch. It's a life or death race. The first babies to arrive survive, and the rest perish. This ensures that only the very fittest of the babies go on to form the next generation of devils. Once the survivors make it to the pouch, they stay there for the next 4 months. During this time, they never relinquish their teat. Even when they emerge from the pouch, they continue to suckle until they're 6 months old. This relatively long period of lactation and suckling is a defining characteristic of marsupials like the devils. Along with their pouch, it's one of the things that differentiates them from placental mammals like dingoes. Mammals are a very large and incredibly diverse family who've adapted to live in many different environments. Marsupials, humans, wild dogs, bats, they're all part of the mammal clan. Marsupials, like devils, have extremely short pregnancies, giving birth to unformed offspring, which do the rest of their developing inside the pouch. Their reproductive investment is placed in lactation and suckling, rather than the long gestation of their placental cousins. Most members of the mammal family, nearly 94% of today's mammals, are placentals. This means the females have a placenta attached to the uterus wall that exchanges nutrients and waste between the blood of the mother and the fetus. The reproductive strategy of placental mammals is to keep the fetus gestating inside the mother for as long as possible. Both systems have their pros and cons. The young carried around inside a placental for such a long period acts as an energy drain to the mother as she internally nourishes the fetus. Its bulk limits her mobility and could mean she can't get away from a predator. And there are risks to the mother associated with giving birth to such large, well-developed babies. As marsupials, the devils avoid these risks by giving birth to minuscule young, and their short pregnancies need fewer calories and less energy to sustain them. But once the young are born, they have a longer nursing period. Devils feed their young for around 6 months, and milk is expensive to make in energy terms. It's a trade-off. Marsupials are also more limited in form. Whilst placental mammals can be in almost any configuration, flippered, winged, hooved, marsupials are much more restricted. Marsupial babies, like devils, need to actively climb from the birth canal to the pouch. So, front paws that are developed enough to grasp onto fur are essential. This has limited their evolutionary possibilities. Like devils, lots of marsupials give birth to many times more babies than they can possibly suckle. Those that don't make it are generally eaten by the mother, so nothing goes to waste. Locally known as imps, the devil babies, or joeys, are now 5 months old. Devil rate of growth is phenomenal. At birth, they're about the size and weight of a lentil. By adulthood, at age 2, a male will grow to around 24 pounds. That's around 15,000 times heavier. By contrast, the average cat increases its weight only around 20-fold from birth to maturity. At 5 months old, the imps are only just starting to be weaned off mum's milk. They're eating small amounts of meat now, but they'll take milk from mum for around another month. The weaning process takes place December through to February, the Australian summertime, when food is plentiful. This devil den is situated under a fallen log. After dark, devils become more active, and it's a good time for the babies to take the night air. They romp around with each other and with their mum. Playing chase and having a little wrestle. Good practice for later life when they'll need as much experience of rough and tumble as they can get. But however much they frolic, they stay close to the safety of the den. This mum started off with 4 babies, one for each of her teats. But only 2 have made it this far. To protect the survivors, like all devil mums, she's carrying her young everywhere on her back. Devils are contentious and quarrelsome beasts. But when they have young, all their usual ferocity is channeled into protecting their precious babies. And transporting them like this gives her the best chance of defending them. They only just fit on her. They use their non-retractable claws to get a really good grip on her fur. The babies may seem well formed, but if mum accidentally leaves one behind, it won't be able to fend for itself. It would make an easy snack for one of Tasmania's other carnivorous marsupials, an adult spotted-tailed quoll. Quolls are related to the devils, and there are 2 kinds on Tasmania. One is the spotted tail or tiger quoll, which is the largest of the quolls. It still comes in at less than half the weight of a devil. Even so, it too is an excellent predator, with long, sharp canines. It's perfectly adapted to the carnivorous life. An adult can easily take a baby devil. Wedge-tailed eagles are another potential predator. So devil mums have to be vigilant and protective. As well as birds of prey and hungry quolls, Tasmania has venomous snakes. A snake makes its stealthy way towards the devil maternity den. The baby's mum is sunbathing nearby. Some Australian snakes have extremely dangerous venom. They inject neurotoxins, which affect the central nervous system, causing the respiratory system to go into failure. If the snake makes it to the den, it could easily kill all of the devil babies. But snakes are careful about prey selection. They don't want to risk an injury that could jeopardize their ability to feed. The snake doesn't want to tangle with a fully grown devil. The devil mum coolly confronts the serpent. She's far too much for the snake to handle. And it swiftly changes direction. It's a month later. The babies are 6 months old and are no longer feeding from mum as often. They're finding their own food, mostly invertebrates and small lizards at this stage. They still live inside the den with their mother. But they're now more independent, so mum's able to leave them for brief periods. She's gone scavenging. The young devils are exploring their environment. It's a vital opportunity to learn about the world around them. Devils will eat almost anything. Whatever they can find is a candidate for lunch. They dig for insects. Experiment with eating moss. They even give stinging nettles a try. They're still learning what they can and can't eat. Young devils don't have the developed dentition of adults. Most noticeably, they lack the long canines that will eventually protrude below their upper lip. As they grow, their heads will become larger and more heavily muscled to support their strong jaws. Pound for pound, the devil is the most powerful biter alive, and the baby's canines will need to be long to pierce and pin their prey. Apart from the odd invertebrate, they're not catching large live prey yet, or sharing a carrion meal, so they don't require the very pronounced canines of the adults. At the first sign of danger, they make a dash back to the den. But devil imps are naturally boisterous, and they soon venture back outside. Like many youngsters, they enjoy wrestling. Adult devils keep up an almost constant barrage of growls, wails and hair-raising screams. But these youngsters, like all devil juveniles, are virtually silent, even when indulging in a bit of rough and tumble. Whether this is an evolutionary strategy to keep them safer when they're young and vulnerable is unknown. At this age, they're expert climbers. Their light weight and sharp little claws help them scamper up and down. They can even swap direction halfway across a log. For now, imp life is all about exploration and testing their limits. As they grow bigger and stronger, Mum leaves them for longer periods of time. They still have around another 4 months with their mother, but they're now confident enough to explore by themselves. It's good practice for adulthood, when they'll spend most of their time being solitary. But for now, at 7 months old, the siblings still like to check in with each other. After she's weaned them, Mum then only has a very short amount of time, just a few weeks, before she enters another breeding cycle. Female devils become sexually mature at around 2. From that time up until their deaths just 3 or 4 years later, they spend almost all of their lives pregnant or rearing young. As the siblings grow up, their diet changes. They switch up from invertebrates to small mammals and arboreal species like possums. But the time available for accessing these tree-living species is limited. The siblings are 18 months old. Their bodies have changed and become heavier. They're no longer as agile as they were when they were young imps. They've spotted a bird's nest in this tree. At this time of year, there's a good likelihood of some eggs inside, a real favourite and an easy source of protein for this scavenger specialist. They both want to try and get to the nest. But it's easier said than done. Although the siblings frolic together as babies, they're now in competition with each other for food. Around 60% of devil juveniles don't survive through to full adulthood, so getting to this nest first is now a serious matter. The male makes the first attempt. He casts about trying to find the best purchase. His long, sharp claws should be ideal for this task. But his skill level just isn't up to it. At 18 months old, he's reached the age when devils are just starting to get too big and heavy to climb anymore. In 6 months' time, he won't be able to climb at all. The female goes next. But she's not having much luck either. They're at an impasse. And in the land of the devil, there's only one thing to do when they're frustrated. Take it out on each other. As well as starting to lose their climbing ability, something else has happened to the young devils. They're now fully fledged screamers, especially during a fight. Having vented their vexation, it's time to try for the nest again. The male has another go. He scrabbles around, looking for a claw hold, but the tree is defeating him. But all is not lost. He uses his devil ingenuity to widen his search. He discovers an alternative route up to the nest. And gets there first. As he wolfs down the contents, his sibling follows his path. And she's not happy. Having got rid of him, she checks for any leftovers. But everything's gone. Another youngster comes to check it out too, just in case. So, just to show that there are hard feelings, she starts a massive fight with the nearest devil. And he's left in no doubt of her disgruntlement. Adult devils are efficient hunters of live animals. But devils of all ages favour animal remains. In the Australian bush, these are fairly common finds, and the devil makes full use of them. Their behaviour at a feeding site is unusual for a mostly solitary animal. They're able to share the food. Young devils must learn the etiquette of how to eat together. While their normal contact with each other is invariably violent, at a carcass they adopt ritualised postures to avoid hurting each other. Although they snarl and snap at each other, their teeth rarely connect. While the dominant male may chase off a lower-ranking devil, he usually doesn't bite it. What's happening is relatively harmonious cooperation, so all the devils get their share of the carcass. Even from its earliest days, devil life is high velocity, high energy and high drama. Fighting is a way of life, and even old age doesn't lessen their ferocity. Their lifespan in the wild is only around 5 or 6 years. This devil is now 5 years old and is almost blind. He's too old to be considered by the females for mating purposes. They favour fit, dominant males. His days of baby making are over. The battle-scarred senior can still manage the distinctive devil lope. It's a strange, shuffling gait that comes from his front legs being longer than his rear legs. His heavy, overdeveloped head and neck, which can account for around 40% of his total weight, also contributes to his rocking horse-like stride. But his teeth, which are a huge part of the devil's fighting arsenal, are now starting to deteriorate. Some animals are able to replace teeth as they fall out, but the devil has just one set that is fully erupted by around 2 years of age. By the age of 5, his teeth will be worn, damaged or absent. If they continue to worsen, he won't be able to compete with the other devils and may slowly starve. Still equipped with a good sense of smell and sharp hearing, the ageing devil heads for a fallen log. These are a good source of insects, easy prey for a devil no longer able to vie with youngsters at a carcass. Soon, he's got company. His weaponry might be failing, but it doesn't stop him putting the unwelcome guest in his place. Even at 5 years old, elderly by devil standards, attitude is everything. Many devils haven't been lucky enough to make it to his age. populations and genetic diversity have been severely reduced by facial tumour disease, a condition they pass to each other through biting. Their numbers are now estimated to be in the low tens of thousands. Before the disease arrived, young devils had a less than 50-50 chance of surviving to adulthood. Now their odds are even lower. To fight back, conservationists are building healthy, quarantined populations of devils within Tasmania and on the Australian mainland. A small number of devils bred in captivity were released onto Maria Island National Park off the east coast of Tasmania in 2012. With no predators and as yet no facial tumour disease, it's hoped the island will be a safe haven in which devil numbers can increase. So far, the devils are thriving. Each breeding season has been a success, and the original numbers of devils have now more than tripled. Tasmanian devils are some of nature's most bombastic animals. But with a much softer side. These meat-loving marsupials make caring mothers who nurture their young for long periods of time, protecting them from anything that may try to hurt them, no matter how deadly. Vocal, belligerent, and totally irrepressible. The devil is a real Tasmanian icon.